Right now, America's greatest cities are bleeding residents faster than ever before. Entire communities are packing up and leaving behind empty streets and crumbling neighborhoods. Why are millions walking away from the places they once called home? But where are they going, and what's driving this massive exodus? Major U.S. cities are collapsing faster than anyone predicted. In San Francisco, 2.6% of residents vanished last year alone. New York City? Nearly 500,000 people gone since 2020. These aren't random moves. They're part of a much larger exodus reshaping America. Tonight, we'll explore why even the most powerful urban centers are crumbling, and where millions of Americans are escaping to. Watch closely. Your city might be next. San Francisco lost 2.6% of its population in 2024 alone, making it America's fastest shrinking large city. For years, this city represented the pinnacle of technological innovation and urban promise. Today, it stands at the center of a dramatic reversal, with thousands choosing to leave behind what was once considered one of the most desirable places to live in the United States. To understand how San Francisco reached this point, it helps to remember the city's recent identity. The city's iconic cable cars and gleaming tech campuses once symbolized a unique blend of tradition and progress. Tech giants like Salesforce and Twitter anchored a local economy that drew ambitious workers from around the world. San Francisco's culture attracted artists, entrepreneurs, and immigrants, all hoping to find their place in a thriving metropolis. But the optimism that once defined the city is now overshadowed by a sense of instability. Two primary forces are pushing residents out. The first is the cost of housing. The median home price in San Francisco is now over $1.2 million, a figure far out of reach for most families and even many professionals. Restrictive zoning policies have resulted in roughly 80% of the city's residential land being reserved for single-family homes, which has stifled new development and kept supply extremely limited. This combination of high prices and limited inventory has made homeownership unattainable for many. Even those with well-paying tech jobs often find themselves priced out, while others are forced to consider relocating to areas where their income stretches further. The second major factor is the city's struggle to maintain a livable environment for families. As the population declines, the effects are visible in local schools. In recent years, San Francisco has closed several schools due to falling enrollment, a clear sign that families are choosing to move elsewhere. This trend not only disrupts the fabric of neighborhoods, but also signals a broader transformation in the city's demographic makeup. The departure of young families and working-age adults drains the city of its future workforce, undermines community stability, and leaves behind an aging population with fewer resources to support essential services. Other pressures compound these challenges. The city's homelessness crisis remains one of the most visible and persistent issues. Public spaces once known for their vibrancy now often reflect the strain of inadequate support systems. Local businesses that depended on a steady influx of workers and visitors face declining foot traffic. In the financial district, lunch spots and cafes that once bustled with activity have closed their doors, casualties of both the remote work shift and the shrinking population. Retail corridors, including well-known destinations like Union Square, have seen high-profile closures, further eroding the city's commercial landscape. The consequences of this exodus reach far beyond the loss of residents. As people and businesses leave, San Francisco's tax base shrinks, making it harder for the city to fund public transportation, infrastructure, and essential services. This can set off a negative feedback loop. As services decline, the city becomes less attractive to those who remain, prompting even more departures. Even the tech sector, which once insulated San Francisco from broader economic downturns, is no longer immune. Companies are scaling back their local presence or relocating to more affordable cities, accelerating the city's economic decline. Despite its wealth, San Francisco remains home to one of the highest concentrations of billionaires in the world. The city faces a paradox. Infrastructure maintenance lags behind, public transit struggles with underfunding, and the gap between affluent residents and those struggling to get by continues to widen. This growing disparity has intensified frustration among longtime residents and newcomers alike, fueling a sense of disconnection and uncertainty about the city's future. San Francisco's story is not just about numbers or economics, it's about the lived experience of a city in transition. The closure of schools, the hollowing out of neighborhoods, and the visible loss of energy in once thriving districts all point to a deeper challenge. The question facing San Francisco now is whether it can adapt to these changes and find a way to rebuild its sense of community and opportunity. Yet, San Francisco is not alone in facing these pressures. Across the country, other major cities are experiencing their own population shifts and reckonings with affordability, safety, and changing lifestyles. Some of these trends accelerated during the pandemic, exposing vulnerabilities in even the most iconic urban centers. This raises a question. What happens when the world's largest and most celebrated cities find themselves at the center of an exodus? New York City stands as a powerful case study in how external shocks can reshape even the most iconic urban centers. After the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the city experienced a population outflow of more than 468,000 residents between 2020 and 2023, according to Census Bureau estimates. This was not just a temporary blip, but the most significant decline among large metropolitan areas, fueled by a combination of shifting work patterns, high living costs, and changing perceptions about city life. The impact was immediate and visible. In 2022, Manhattan's residential vacancy rate soared to 10%, a level that would have seemed impossible just a few years earlier. Apartment buildings that once had waiting lists now saw empty units and falling demand. The average rent in Manhattan remained stubbornly high, hovering around $4,300 per month, which only reinforced the decision for many to look elsewhere for more affordable housing. For families and professionals alike, the calculus shifted. If remote work allowed them to live anywhere, why pay a premium to stay in New York? Economic pressures extended beyond the housing market. The departure of so many residents directly affected the city's tax base, shrinking the resources available for public services. Municipal budgets, heavily reliant on income and property taxes, faced shortfalls as higher earners left for states with lower tax burdens. This had a cascading effect on everything from transit funding to social services. Subway delays and service reductions became more common, frustrating riders who depended on reliable transportation for work and daily life. The city's business landscape also changed dramatically. Restaurants, especially those catering to office workers in Midtown, saw their customer base evaporate as companies embraced hybrid or fully remote work. Iconic lunch spots and small neighborhood cafes closed their doors, unable to survive on a trickle of foot traffic. Retail corridors that once bustled with activity grew quieter, and the aftershocks reached far beyond individual businesses, touching the city's cultural identity and sense of vibrancy. While safety and crime concerns factored into the decisions of some to leave, the data tells a nuanced story. In 2022, New York's murder rate stood at 6.3 per 100,000, lower than the national average of 7.8, according to FBI statistics. Still, the perception of rising crime combined with other stressors like the cost of living and the quality of education contributed to an atmosphere where families, young professionals, and even retirees began to see opportunity elsewhere. Not every part of the city experienced the downturn equally. Neighborhoods in the financial district in Midtown, which relied on daily commuters and office workers, struggled to recover as office towers remained partly empty. In contrast, some residential areas in Brooklyn and Queens attracted new residents seeking more space without leaving the city entirely. Yet, the most notable population gains occurred just beyond city limits. Suburban areas in New Jersey, Connecticut, and upstate New York saw growth as former city dwellers sought larger homes and quieter streets, while still maintaining professional ties to New York through hybrid work arrangements. One critical factor in stabilizing New York's population has been immigration. Between 2018 and 2023, immigrants accounted for 82.1% of the population growth in the New York metro area, according to the American Immigration Council. This influx has helped sustain the city's workforce, fill gaps in key industries, and inject new energy into neighborhoods that might otherwise have continued to decline. Without this steady stream of newcomers, the population losses would have been even more dramatic, underscoring just how much New York relies on global talent and ambition to keep its economy moving. For many who left, the decision wasn't about escaping hardship, but about pursuing new possibilities, whether that meant affordable homes in the suburbs, new job markets in cities like Austin or Atlanta, or simply a different pace of life. New York's allure remains, but its promises are no longer as exclusive as they once were. The city's future now hinges on its ability to adapt, to make life affordable, to keep services robust, and to foster a sense of safety and belonging for all residents. What New York has experienced is a reminder that even the world's largest cities are not immune to dramatic demographic change. The uneven recovery across neighborhoods, persistent affordability challenges, and the need for new strategies to attract and retain residents all point to a city in transition. As we look beyond the skyscrapers and crowded avenues, another story emerges, one where the loss of population unfolds on a scale that reshapes entire cities for generations. The story of Rust Belt cities is one marked by profound transformation. A region once defined by industrial might now faces the lingering effects of economic collapse. Gary, Indiana, stands as one of the most striking examples. In 1960, Gary was home to nearly 180,000 residents, its streets busy with workers from the city's steel mills. Today, the population has dropped by 62%, leaving fewer than 70,000 people. The city's decline is not just a matter of numbers. A single, rusted steel mill looming over empty lots captures the stark reality of a place shaped by prosperity and then hollowed out by the loss of its economic foundation. Youngstown, Ohio, tells a parallel story. Once a thriving steel town, Youngstown has seen its population fall by 60% since 1960. The city's mills once provided steady employment and a sense of security for thousands of families. But as global competition and automation eroded the steel industry, jobs vanished almost overnight. Residents left in search of work, and the city's social fabric began to unravel. The impact of this exodus is visible in the city's aging infrastructure and quiet neighborhoods, where the sense of community that once defined Youngstown has become much harder to sustain. The economic crash that followed the collapse of manufacturing in these cities set off a cycle that has proven difficult to reverse. As jobs disappeared, so did younger, educated residents, a phenomenon often called brain drain. This left behind an older population and a shrinking workforce, making it even harder to attract new businesses or spark economic growth. The loss of residents meant fewer taxpayers, which in turn led to declining revenues for local governments. Essential services like road repairs, public safety, and school funding suffered, compounding the challenges for those who remained. Efforts to revitalize Rust Belt cities have met with mixed results. In Youngstown, for example, the launch of a tech incubator in 2023 brought a wave of optimism, with several new startups setting up shop and drawing attention to the city's potential for innovation. Yet, these initiatives have not been enough to offset decades of decline. The scale of the challenge is immense. Attracting and retaining residents requires more than a handful of new businesses. It demands a fundamental shift in how these cities approach economic development, education, and quality of life. The consequences of decline extend beyond economics. As younger people leave, the population ages, creating new pressures on healthcare and social services. Schools close due to low enrollment, and entire neighborhoods lose the vitality that comes from families and children. In many Rust Belt cities, poverty has become a persistent reality, with limited job opportunities fueling cycles of hardship and further migration. The sense of loss is palpable, not just in the empty lots and silent factories, but in the stories of residents who remember a different era. The experience of Gary and Youngstown serves as a warning for any city that relies too heavily on a single industry. The risks of economic vulnerability are clear. When the foundation cracks, the effects ripple outward, touching every aspect of community life. The Rust Belt's decline highlights the importance of economic diversification and the need for cities to adapt to shifting global trends. It's not just manufacturing that's at risk. As technology changes other sectors, cities across the country must consider how to build resilience into their economies. While revitalization is possible, it requires sustained effort and a willingness to embrace new strategies. The lessons of the Rust Belt are not limited to one region. They resonate with any place facing uncertainty about its future. As we look at how cities across America are grappling with population loss, it becomes clear that the forces shaping the Rust Belt are now at work in other, sometimes unexpected corners of the country. Some of the most dramatic recent shifts are happening far from the Midwest's industrial heartland. In places once defined by rapid growth and opportunity, the challenges of sudden decline are taking on a new urgency. Paradise in Spring Valley, Nevada, offer a striking example of how rapid suburban growth can reverse course. Paradise lost 26.8% of its residents from 2018 to 2023, about 65,000 people in 5 years, making it the city with the most significant population decline in the country during that period. Spring Valley, its neighbor, recorded a 10.1% drop in population in 2023 alone, with more than 22,000 residents leaving in a single year. These figures stand out even more when you consider their close proximity to Las Vegas, a city still known for its economic activity and vibrant entertainment industry. For years, Paradise and Spring Valley benefited from their access to the Las Vegas Strip and the promise of affordable suburban living. The areas drew families, retirees, and workers who wanted the conveniences of city life without the high costs or congestion. New neighborhoods and retail centers sprang up quickly, and the population climbed throughout the 2000s. The sense of opportunity felt almost limitless. But this kind of growth came with hidden risks. The most significant driver of the recent decline has been housing oversupply. In Paradise, vacancy rates reached nearly 20% according to SmartAsset, leaving entire subdivisions with rows of empty homes. The market simply built more than demand could support, and when the pace of newcomers slowed, the imbalance became clear. Homeowners who stayed saw property values drop, and the financial burden of maintaining vacant properties fell on both individuals and local governments. The result? A landscape dotted with empty houses and a growing sense of uncertainty among those who remained. Economic instability added another layer of challenge. While Las Vegas's tourism and hospitality industries have often been resilient, they remain sensitive to broader downturns. When the pandemic hit in 2020, the shockwaves rippled through Paradise and Spring Valley. Local businesses that depended on casino workers and tourists struggled to survive. Many closed for good, and the jobs that supported suburban life vanished. Even as Las Vegas rebounded, the effects lingered in its suburbs, where the loss of economic momentum translated directly into fewer jobs, less demand for housing, and lower consumer spending. The population loss in these areas is not limited to a single demographic. In Spring Valley, the working-age population, about half of the city's residents, fell by more than 10% in 2023. This suggests that it's not just retirees or older adults leaving. Families and younger workers are also moving out. This broad-based decline points to deeper, systemic issues that go beyond short-term economic cycles. As residents leave, the impact on daily life becomes increasingly visible. Schools have seen enrollments drop, which can lead to closures or reduced funding. Local parks, libraries, and other amenities struggle to stay open as the tax base shrinks. Businesses that once thrived on a steady stream of local customers now face declining sales, forcing more closures and job losses. The cycle feeds on itself. As services decline, the area becomes less attractive to potential newcomers, and the exodus continues. One difference between Paradise, Spring Valley, and other declining cities is the absence of immigration to offset population loss. In many American cities, new arrivals help stabilize neighborhoods and reinvigorate local economies. Here, however, that influx is missing, which removes a key source of renewal. Without new residents to fill empty homes and support businesses, the decline accelerates. Local projections warn of further decline ahead. Without significant changes in economic strategy or demographic trends, the population in these areas could drop even more over the next few years. This outlook affects everything from property values to the quality of public services, making it difficult for current residents to see a clear path to recovery. The struggles of Paradise and Spring Valley highlight the vulnerabilities that can come with rapid, unchecked suburban expansion. Building new housing and infrastructure is not enough if long-term demand and economic stability are not in place. Relying on a single industry, no matter how strong it seems, can leave entire communities exposed when circumstances change. As more people weigh the risks and rewards of life in different parts of the country, the story of these Nevada suburbs serves as a cautionary example. The forces at work here are not unique. They reflect broader patterns that are shaping cities and suburbs across the United States. Understanding why people are leaving and what it means for the future requires looking beyond individual cities to the larger trends driving American migration. Across the United States, a striking migration trend is reshaping where and how people choose to live. The bigger picture reveals that between 2020 and 2023, about 2.8 million people left major urban counties, according to census estimates. This movement is not just a series of isolated decisions, it's a national shift with clear roots in two core forces: housing affordability and the rise of remote work. Affordability has become a defining factor in the decision to move. The cost of living in many major cities now outpaces what most families and professionals can reasonably manage. According to Pew Research, 37% of people who moved in 2023 cited high housing costs as a primary reason for leaving. Cities like San Francisco and New York, long known for their competitive housing markets, have seen residents increasingly priced out, especially as median home prices and rents reach historic highs. Outdated zoning policies and limited new development have only intensified the problem, making it difficult for even middle-income earners to find suitable housing. In response, many are seeking out regions where home prices are dramatically lower, and the path to ownership or affordable rent feels realistic. Remote work has compounded this shift. The pandemic fundamentally changed how people think about where they need to live to do their jobs. As of 2023, about 27% of office workers remain remote, according to Brookings. This flexibility has allowed individuals and families to prioritize lifestyle, space, and cost over proximity to a downtown office. The result is a growing willingness to leave dense urban centers in favor of suburbs, small towns, or entirely new cities. Downtown business districts, once bustling with daily commuters, now see reduced foot traffic, and the economic ripple effects have left many local businesses struggling to adapt. Where are these millions of movers heading? The trend is clear. Suburban and rural areas, as well as select fast-growing cities, are experiencing significant gains. Suburbs that once felt peripheral are now magnets for families, retirees, and remote workers alike. The Sun Belt stands out as the region attracting the most attention. Austin, Texas, for instance, has seen an 8.71% growth rate in recent years, fueled by its reputation for affordability, vibrant culture, and a strong job market. Cities like Raleigh, North Carolina, are also seeing the impact of migration, with a 38.6% increase in their immigrant population, contributing to overall growth and economic vitality. Immigration, in fact, has become a crucial stabilizing force for many metropolitan areas. Between 2018 and 2023, immigrants accounted for 42.1% of the population growth in the 100 largest metro areas. In some places, such as Baltimore, the increase in the immigrant population has completely offset declines among U.S.-born residents. This influx brings not only demographic stability but also new skills, entrepreneurship, and cultural diversity, helping to revitalize neighborhoods that might otherwise face sharper declines. However, the loss of working-age residents presents real challenges for cities experiencing outflows. As young families and professionals depart, small businesses see shrinking customer bases, schools face declining enrollments, and public institutions must operate with reduced funding. The cycle can be difficult to break. Fewer services make cities less attractive, prompting even more departures. Some cities, like Boise, Idaho, have responded proactively, offering incentives to attract remote workers, investing in quality of life improvements, and marketing themselves as affordable alternatives to coastal metros. These efforts highlight how adaptability and innovation can help urban areas remain competitive, even as migration patterns shift. Looking forward, regions in the southeast, especially along the Carolina coastline and in metro areas across Georgia and Tennessee, are projected to see some of the fastest growth over the next decade. These areas offer a mix of affordability, economic opportunity, and lifestyle appeal that resonates with a wide range of movers. Meanwhile, cities still grappling with population loss must rethink their strategies, focusing on economic diversification, housing reform, and community investment to stay relevant. Ultimately, this national migration is more than a reaction to high prices or changing work habits. It's a signal of deeper pressures transforming American cities and towns. For those watching these trends, the implications touch everything from real estate values to the future of local economies. As the landscape continues to change, understanding these patterns can help guide decisions about where to live, invest, or build a life. The decline of once thriving cities and the rise of new growth hubs point to a future where adaptability and planning matter more than ever. Urban decline in cities like San Francisco and New York highlights how affordability, safety, and sustainability shape where people choose to live. These examples show that no city is immune to change, and the decision to stay or move depends on weighing these critical factors for your own situation. If you found this insight valuable for your lifestyle or investment decisions, hit subscribe and share your city's biggest challenge in the comments. Your experience and perspective help build a more informed community, and we look forward to hearing where you think America's next chapter will unfold.